Anthropic just crossed $10 billion in annual revenue in under 4 years, a pace that makes ServiceNow and Shopify look like they were standing still. Meanwhile, the AI compute crunch is getting worse, precisely because tokens got cheaper. Job postings now want one person to be an entire IT department. And the messy reality of multi-agent systems is exposing a missing layer that nobody's built yet. From the team at the Synthetic Daily, it's Wednesday, April 8, 2026. Grab a seat, we've got a lot to cover. We went through about 86 posts, articles, and threads across LinkedIn, Substack, and YouTube to find what people are talking about. Let's start with a number that should make you sit up straight. Tomasz Tungus pointed out this week that Anthropic crossed $10 billion in annual revenue last month. To put that in perspective, ServiceNow took 20 years to cross the 10 billion mark. Shopify took 18, Palo Alto Networks 19. Anthropic did it in under 4. And the part that doesn't get enough attention, the twist that Azim Ajjar laid out beautifully in his newsletter, cheaper AI was supposed to ease the compute crunch. Instead, it made it worse. This is the Jevons paradox applied to intelligence. Every time the price of a token falls, demand rises faster than supply can scale. OpenAI's APIs were processing 6 billion tokens per minute back in October 2025. By this month, April, that had ballooned to 15 billion, a 2.5 times increase in just 5 months. So the labs are caught in this fascinating bind. They can't clear the queue by raising prices because their customers will simply defect to the next cheapest alternative. The result? OpenAI is literally passing on business opportunities. Anthropic is adjusting session limits for its pro users. Open source model providers are shutting down services. The demand for AI compute has become so voracious that even the companies printing money from it can't keep up. And the question Tungus teasingly asks, how long until Anthropic is the most valuable company in the world, isn't quite as absurd as it would have sounded a year ago. Let's talk about something completely different. Something that clearly struck a nerve this week. Abdirahman Jama, he's a developer who posts frequently about the realities of tech hiring, put up a short, sardonic open letter to recruiters that pulled nearly 2,400 engagements. He listed what a single job posting was asking for: Java, Go, Rust, Python, React, TypeScript, Node.js, PostgreSQL, Redis, DynamoDB, a laundry list of AWS services, Linux system administration, building and deploying AI agents in production, Docker, Kubernetes, security, observability, and, people management. And his punchline was devastating. That's not a full-stack developer, that's an entire IT department. This resonated because it captures something real happening in the industry right now. As companies race to integrate AI into their operations, they're compressing what used to be 5 or 6 distinct roles into one job description. And the AI agent piece is new. It wasn't on these lists 2 years ago. Jama followed up in another post, arguing that you don't need deep ML theory to become an AI field engineer. You need to go wide on fundamentals and actually ship. The skills that transfer, he says, are the ones software architects already have: discovery, system design, debugging production issues, stakeholder management. Okay, but think about it this way. What's really happening here is a redefinition of what it means to be a technical professional in the AI era. The stack hasn't just gotten taller, it's gotten wider, and the expectations are expanding faster than any one person can realistically grow. All right, next up. If you spent any time on LinkedIn this week, you could not escape Claude. Specifically, you could not escape people telling you that you're using Claude wrong. Ruben Hassid posted 4 separate pieces, all with massive engagement, walking through how to set up Claude's co-work feature, how to create voice profiles, how to use projects, and how to make your AI-generated writing sound less like AI-generated writing. His core argument is that most people treat Claude like a blank prompt box when they should be treating it like a new hire who needs onboarding. You know what stood out to me? Karuk Malmoom went deeper on the developer side, sharing what she called Anthropic's internal best practices packaged into a Claude.md file. This originally came from Boris Cherny, the creator of Claude Code at Anthropic, and someone on X turned his team's internal workflow into a configuration file you can drop into any project. The key features: plan mode for multi-step tasks, sub-agent delegation to keep the main context clean, A self-improvement loop where Claude writes rules after every correction so it never repeats the same mistake. And verification by default. Nothing ships without proof it works. And then there's the drama. Ben's Bytes reported that Anthropic cut off Claude subscription-funded usage in third-party tools like OpenClaw. You can still use Claude models through these tools, but now you need separate pay-as-you-go billing or your own API key. Anthropic offered a one-time credit equal to 1 month subscription, but the message was clear. They're steering users toward their own toolchain. This is Anthropic doing what every platform eventually does, pulling the ecosystem closer to home as it scales. It's rational, it's predictable, and it's going to make a lot of independent tool builders very nervous. Here's a story that's more important than it looks on the surface. Abdurrahman Jama wrote something provocative. Many so-called multi-agent setups are really just humans copy-pasting between AI tools. We have agents that can plan features, generate code, review pull requests, and write tests. That part, he says, is solved. But the moment you add a second agent, everything falls apart. Which is wild, right? He identified 3 specific problems. First, context resets. Every agent starts from scratch because reasoning doesn't carry over. Second, routing is manual. A human still decides which agent runs, when, and in what order. Third, state is fragmented. Agents pass outputs around but don't truly share context. His conclusion? The next critical layer in AI isn't another model. It's coordination infrastructure. Harrison Chase at LangChain is clearly thinking about the same problem from a different angle. He's been pushing LangGraph's checkpointing feature, which saves a full snapshot of an agent's execution state at every step. Think of it like version control for agent behavior. He gave a concrete example. An underwriter could pause a loan processing agent mid-execution, review its risk assessment, then resume, and the agent picks up exactly where it left off. LangChain is also building out what they're calling agent middleware, which handles context engineering, guardrails, and control flow between agents. This matters because we're hitting the ceiling on what single agents can do, and the path forward, coordinating multiple specialized agents, requires infrastructure that barely exists. It's the plumbing problem. Nobody wants to build plumbing, but nothing works without it. Now, shifting gears a bit, Import AI's latest newsletter flagged something that deserves more attention than it's getting. A safety research organization called Liptus Research has been studying how well AI systems perform at cyber offense tasks, and they found a clear, measurable scaling law. More advanced models are better at more advanced forms of cyber attack. The doubling time for cyber offense capability across frontier models released since 2019 is 9.8 months. But if you restrict that to models released since 2024, it steepens to 5.7 months. The most recent frontier models, GPT 5.3 and Opus 4.6, are sitting above both trend lines. That's not theoretical hand-waving. That's an empirical curve, and it's accelerating. We talk a lot about scaling laws for model capability and benchmark performance. We talk much less about scaling laws for misuse potential, and this research suggests that cyber offense capability is scaling at least as fast as, and possibly faster than, the general capabilities we celebrate. Gary Marcus, who's on his way to the Cambridge Disinformation Summit this week, has been sounding adjacent alarms about AI's role in information warfare. He flagged the Hungarian elections as potentially the world's first post-reality campaign, and noted that Iran has co-opted MAGA-style propaganda techniques and is executing them more effectively than the originals. The through line here is that AI capabilities don't respect the neat boundaries we draw between productive and destructive use cases. The same scaling dynamics that make Claude better at writing your code are making other systems better at finding your vulnerabilities. Moving on. Let's close with something more philosophical but genuinely practical. Azim Ajhar wrote about a distinction drawn by researchers Shaw and Nave that I think every knowledge worker needs to internalize. The difference between cognitive offloading and cognitive surrender. Cognitive offloading is what happened when you stopped memorizing phone numbers. You delegated storage to your phone. It cost you nothing meaningful. You freed up mental capacity for things that matter more. Cognitive surrender is different. It's the uncritical abdication of reasoning itself. And Ajhar argues that AI has become so ambient, so embedded in every process he runs at work, that the line between these two is getting blurry. He's not alone in worrying about this. Gary Marcus flagged a related concern around children and AI, whether parents should be asking not just how kids use AI, but whether they should in certain contexts at all, particularly when young teens are having intimate conversations with chatbots or replacing their education with what he calls a regime of cognitive surrender. Mark Andreessen, fresh off raising $15 billion for a 16Z, offered the counterpoint on Swix's podcast. He argued that AI is the payoff of an 80-year overnight success, and that the real bottleneck isn't the models. It's the messy institutions, incentives, and social systems that struggle to absorb technological change. He's right that the technology is arriving faster than our institutions can adapt. But that's precisely why the cognitive surrender question matters. When the tools are this good and this ambient, the discipline to know when to think for yourself becomes the scarcest and most valuable skill in the room. All right, let's zoom out and talk about the bigger picture. What are the main themes running through everything we covered today? The first big theme, and this something we have mentioned before, is infrastructure over intelligence. The competitive frontier in AI is quietly shifting from model capability to the unglamorous coordination, persistence, and middleware layers that make multi-agent systems actually work in production. Next, platform consolidation accelerates. Anthropic's move to cut off third-party subscription-funded usage signals that AI labs are entering the classic platform phase, where ecosystem openness contracts as revenue scales. Next, capability curves have dark twins. Every celebrated scaling law for AI performance has an under-examined shadow curve in cyber offense, disinformation, and manipulation that scales on the same dynamics. Next, the disappearing job boundary. AI tool proliferation is collapsing traditionally distinct technical roles into impossibly broad job descriptions, creating a talent expectations gap that no single hire can fill. And the last one, configuration as competitive advantage. The viral spread of Claude MD files, voice profiles, and project scaffolding reveals that knowing how to configure AI tools is rapidly becoming as valuable as knowing how to code. So if you're going to take away a few things from today's episode, here's what I'd remember. Number 1, the Jevons paradox means AI companies are becoming victims of their own efficiency. Cheaper tokens generate demand that outpaces every capacity expansion plan. Number 2, if you're building with AI agents today, the model is the easy part. The missing piece is the coordination layer that lets agents share context, state, and reasoning across executions. Number 3, knowing how to configure an AI tool, voice profiles, project scaffolding, Claude.md files, is quickly becoming the new literacy that separates productive teams from ones just prompting into the void. And finally, every AI scaling curve we celebrate has a shadow curve in adversarial capability, and we're measuring the bright side far more rigorously than the dark one. That's the Daily Brief for today. All the sources and links are on the website if you want to dig deeper. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow.